Good morning, I'm Raquel the Bell on the one and only WWNN 1470. Today in the studio we have Tracy from We Are the People. You can join her every Monday night from 7 to 7:30 p.m. on her website, WeAreThePeople.tv. Tracy tackles the student loan dilemma and offers viable options. And now, here's Tracy.
We really don't need it. Here I am.
Yeah.
There I am. We're back. It's Monday night about 7 o'clock, and you've joined We Are the People. We are on WNN 1470 AM radio, where we're filming live tonight. We're in Boca Raton. And you can also find us live right now on our website, WeAreThePeople.tv. So we've been talking about Student Services Society that we've been setting up. We want to help students with student loan debt, not just talk about how terrible everything is. So Donald Cleveland has been with me. You'll remember him from his book, Revitalizing America, A Declaration Against, I want to say, our government. Yes,
right,
I always say our Constitution.
Right.
So he's joined me again tonight so we can go over the latest developments and talk about our GoFundMe. And we wanted to wind up a bit of a discussion that we were on last week.
Right.
So welcome back, and thank you for coming.
Well, thank you, Tracy. It's nice to be here again, and hopefully we can keep moving the Student Services Society forward and help to make some fundamental changes and create some fairness for an underclass in our society called students.
Yes, very underclass.
Yes.
Not underglass.
No, not under glass, but
I feel like I'm under glass, living in a glass house, you know.
Sort of like the glass ceiling, though, because it's another tragedy, isn't it, that many women who graduate from college will be receiving lower incomes than men who've studied the same thing and go to work in the same place.
Absolutely. So, you know, I've actually been reading more and more on that lately. And there's a lot of good groups out there trying to help that cause.
Right.
So we have to pick our causes. So ours is the students. And so we should be getting our website posted this week.
That's right. We've established an account so that we can have a website, and everything is set up for it. And I understand that some of your people who have volunteered time are actually creating the website, and I've been communicating with them to put the website up through GoDaddy. How's that? It's a free ad for GoDaddy. But it should be up and available at least in some kind of a preliminary sense this week. And it will constantly be growing, and additions will be made to it so that membership can be accomplished online.
Right.
And they can see the full charter of the Student Services Society online and know that we're 100% legitimate. There are no tricks under the peanut shells.
No tricks under the peanut shells. We also have our Facebook page. That's pretty much got our articles of incorporation along with different ideas that we're doing. And I set up a GoFundMe account as well.
Right.
So that's very exciting. That's very fun. We need to do a short little video of that. I've got a cartoon character thing on there right now. They say that's not really the way to go if you want to succeed, but I had a shortage of internet and a shortage of time. So we're starting out with a cartoon, and it's kind of cute, actually. It's the office of the university president is on the door, and he's going, I'll bet my entire week's $47,000 salary that it won't work. And he's reading the newspaper that says Obama's plan to control college costs. So again, there's a lot of things that we are not going to be able to make happen fast with our government. So we have to do what we can together to try to make things work.
Right. And I think, Tracy, the fact that you've put up this GoFundMe page is just the first step in creating what we need as far as being able to reach out to students, being able to reach out to people generally in the public to accomplish the goals of the society. And it's important, you know, we've covered some of the goals. We've talked about things like helping to buy up and reduce student debt through the organization. We've talked about creating enterprise emergence centers on college campuses so that we don't have to have the Microsoft development occur in a garage. It can actually occur in a university setting where both the students and the universities can earn money from the development of these projects, and the students can have practical skills as well as theoretical skills when they leave college. Like, how do I set up a corporation, right?
And these classes, they're offered in a lot of colleges, but not everybody gets them. And I don't know, especially in the for-profit setting, depending on the school. I had some great professors, but there were also some not so great ones, and you're just not getting what you need out of those college classes, which is why the Small Business Administration has all those different things to train you as well.
Right. The SBA does have a number of services that they provide, training sessions, different kinds of programs where a person who wants to set up a business can attend a session, but they're really very, very light.
And getting lighter all the time. Their budgets keep continually getting cut.
Right. And so it isn't something where someone who really needs to know, who has an education, can go and pick up the details that are necessary to be successful in business, or to be successful even in establishing a corporation or a company, a limited liability corporation or another kind of a structure that would be helpful in creating a business, a successful business.
And they could probably get college course points for this too.
Yes, that's our objective.
So, and which is what we did in the school that I went to. They really did have a nice program. It didn't work out, unfortunately, but where the real work setting worked into the college courses, I think more of that. I think they'll learn more
Right.
when they're actually using those skills. So we'll just put big garages on the campus.
Right. Well, I know that, my own experiences, and yours probably too, were that when you would take something like macroeconomics or microeconomics, it was hard actually to see when you graduated from college how you would apply those
Right,
theories.
exactly.
What did they do in a common sense way that would help you become a Warren Buffett or even a Microsoft?
Ideally, it would be great if the professors got involved and helped build the curriculum, or
Right.
I'm saying that backwards, helped us show them by building the business, this is the part that applies to this class, and these are the parts that apply to that class.
Right.
And then it would be a big circle.
That's correct. That's correct.
So I'm looking forward to that part.
There's the rest. Some of the other aspects that we didn't cover in that much detail the last time we were on were things like educate the students on options to debt, because there are options to debt that are out there.
They don't tell you about those in the recruiting office, though.
No, as a matter of fact, I was talking to a student just last week who was unaware, because she was an international student, who was unaware that international students were eligible for grants to attend school, to attend a university. And I said, well, look on the internet for that college, find the international student office and call them and ask them. And she said, yes, as a matter of fact, they told her grants were available, and all she had to do was tell them whether she wanted to go to undergraduate or graduate school.
You know, and that's funny because even where I went to school, the school itself offered grants, but they didn't tell anybody. Mm-hmm. They just kind of saved it for whenever I started screaming really loud about something. But I don't know who the other people were that got it, but they did not. You know, sometimes you'd find it posted obscurely, but nobody said, hey, this is posted over there, go look for it. You know, so they want to hold on to that money, which I don't understand, because the whole idea especially if you've got a grant that's going to be paid every year, you've got to spend that money in order for them to re-up that.
Right.
So I don't know I guess they're just giving it to certain people.
Yeah, and there are also things out there for people who are considered to be underprivileged. Now, I've met a number of people in my lifetime who were economically underprivileged, but not mentally underprivileged, if given the right opportunity. And many of the universities have programs where people who actually score lower scholastically than others in their high school grades and come from diverse communities where they may be economically underprivileged are given actually a quota or a preference, so that so many of them would be given scholarships or grants to attend that particular college. So they overlook the grade level. They overlook the economic circumstance of the student. And that's kind of a thing that needs to be brought more to the attention of everyone.
Absolutely.
Right?
And, whether you're underprivileged or not, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people that were average students in high school totally excel once they get into college.
Yes.
It's just a totally different learning experience. Your professors are usually more in tune, not all of them, but a lot of them are, and, see people go in, making high B's and A's all the time. I've seen it.
Right.
And their moms, because I know a lot of them, and their moms are like, they never were worth a crap in high school. Why are they doing so good now?
Yeah. Well, I think
So even the parents don't realize,
yeah.
until they finally get in there.
Yeah, with the exception of a few classes in high school, I was a C-plus student.
Were you?
Yeah, and then in college I went to the dean's list. I received A's and B-pluses all of the time. So it was just a matter of my maturing and having the chance to be able to perform and to let my intelligence grow through the education system. And that's the chance that every one of us deserves.
Absolutely. And too many of us don't get. And then, unfortunately, with the loans and the things, everything's shifting the way it is now. A lot of people are getting into school and then finding they don't have the money to finish school.
Right.
And, a lot of the ones in the for-profit just can't cut it. I mean, you really can't pass when you can't read.
Right.
So they drop out. And then you've got people that now have this debt that's growing daily and gets totally out of hand, and they have no way to pay that back because they're not getting the better pay that they thought they should have or that they were promised.
Right. And, part of that, too, Tracy, is the fact that, and it's one of the missions of the society, is to educate the general public on what these needs are to help correct the circumstances in both information on grants and scholarships and on information on what's necessary to do to make a successful run at college and graduate without being so deeply in debt that you can't even see the horizon anymore. And that's happening to so many people. Are there ways that it can be done? Sure. And I think one example is to instead of everyone wanting to go away to school, to start looking more at the educational opportunities that there are close to home to reduce the cost of going by not going to a dorm. Sure, a teenage girl or a teenage boy might really want to go away to be in a dorm, but the essence of it is that's not going to increase the education that the person receives unless it's an education on how to avoid dorm parties, something of that nature. But it is something where staying closer to home, paying attention to really wanting to learn rather than to have an adventure, I think is a critical part of being able to achieve an education and being able to finish it without spending a great deal of money.
Absolutely. But they do tell you, look at all this money that we found for you, so they talk you into it at some point, and you're thinking, well, it depends on your age of what you're thinking, but there's always something to do with that money.
Sure.
And they just, compound interest was never explained very well. Well, I don't remember that being explained at all, as a matter of fact. And that's where people are really getting in trouble, which they shouldn't have compound interest anyway. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's usury.
Well, yeah, but the days of usury are long over, as we know, and that's one of the reasons that laws were passed to eliminate usury. And while the big corporate credit card companies are located in the state of South Dakota, because that was one of the first states to roll back usury, and that's where you find Citibank and others with credit cards who will get, as I think I mentioned before on the program, their overnight Fed funds for their bank operations at 0.25% and turn around and charge the people 24 to 28% interest on the credit card. I mean, that's just, it's obnoxious.
There were students I knew with school loans that were that high as well.
Yeah. No, that's tragic.
And back before they started changing the way things were written up, so things have improved. You didn't realize that's what you were getting.
Well,
So, I mean, a lot of people were, and this has major mental
yes, it
and
does.
emotional repercussions for people.
Right.
Because when you feel, you go through, it's like the 7 phases of dying, you know, all the different levels that you go through when you lose somebody.
Yeah.
And you go through the depression, you go through the blame. It's very difficult for people.
Well, Tracy, that you hit on a point that is one of the objectives of the society as well, is to try to improve the ability to identify and assist people who are both in college and who have graduated from college with large student debts, to provide a better response for mental health treatment or mental health assistance, make that more available to them, so that they aren't out there on their own, thinking that they're the worst dog on the or the lowest dog on the totem pole, and so that they don't decide to commit suicide by cop or other things of that nature, which
By cop or by their own hand. I
Sure.
mean, there's a lot of that when you're
Yep.
looking at the groups. I mean, that's the one thing about the groups is that's kind of on Facebook, it's a safe place to go.
Sure.
And you can cry about your problems where most people don't want to hear that anymore. These people have all went through it, and you have people at all different levels coming through that. So it's important. You need that kind. You need to be able to feel safe. Attitude is everything, but you can't have a good attitude when you're constantly bombarded and you're told that, you know, this is your fault and you're stupid, and why should we have to pay your school loans when we paid ours, and why do we have to pay other people's mortgages? And, you know, it's a much bigger picture than that.
And there is one thing about that too, and that's that we get into this aspect of what they really are, debt collectors. They're
brutal.
for the student loans, and they've held themselves for a period of time. They've said that they were really not debt collectors, and they were therefore not subject to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. However, decisions in the appeals courts have said that they are debt collectors, and they are not exempt from the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So to any students or parents of students who are out there listening, if there is a debt collector for a student loan hounding you or your children to death, they need to be reminded that they are subject to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and maybe even file an action against them to stop them from violating the act.
Right. And, you know, a lot of times there's just no time. We feel like there's no time to do these type of things, but that is why they get away with it.
That's right.
Because they know. I mean, it's a busy world now. Cell phones have taken away all free time. At least they have taken away mine. That's the one good thing about it being broke. So yes, it took me 78 hours for my phone service to get transferred from one company to another after I broke it the other day. So, but it's kind of nice not hearing it ring. I've just had to not think about all the things that I needed to be doing and the things that I couldn't, you know, so ups and downs.
Well, that's, we're talking here about doing a lot of things for people who are students and people who have graduated from college and have debt left over or certain issues that are left over. And I can relate to another kind of pieces of information that the society would be doing, and that's just taking a look at all of the information that's out there about the job market and whether or not the job market in a certain profession is providing X dollars of income after you graduate from college. I have an example in my own family. My youngest son actually believed the propaganda that was out there going through the...
I did. I mean, and it was on the internet too.
Yes.
I looked it up.
Yeah.
Although you can't find that now. When you try to backdate it and look for... It's not there.
Yeah, well, it was, in my son's case, it was a matter of him following all of the information about the airline industry because he wanted to become an airline pilot, which he did. And then as he was going through his schooling, what happened was that the corporate interests in airlines declared bankruptcy several times, the major airlines.
Oh, yeah.
And as what they did during that period of time, the students can't discharge their debt, right?
But they
through
can.
bankruptcy. So the big corporations, the airlines, discharged humongous debts when it went through bankruptcy, and one of the first things they did was to convince the bankruptcy court that the union contracts that provided both pensions and decent living wages to the airline industry could be thrown out. And in that whole process then, a job that had a bright future before and was always published as that in all of the literature, became an industry where right now a first officer on a major airline is earning $19,000 a year.
Which is ridiculous.
And that's just, it's unconscionable again to think that a person would have to spend from anywhere from $70,000 to $100,000 to get a job that pays $19,000 a year.
But it used to be a great job.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have a friend that retired from American Airlines. Now, he taught special things, so he had an exceptionally good pay, and he also had a great retirement, well over $1 million. However, when all that trouble happened with American Airlines, they went in and they tapped their retirement.
Yes. Well, I have a friend who also, an acquaintance rather, who was a United Airlines pilot, retired, and after he retired, United went through bankruptcy, and they took away their entire pensions. They, first of all, in the first bankruptcy, because they'd had to, in the first bankruptcy, they passed it all to the Pension Guarantee Benefit Fund. We talked about that on the program once, so that you and I got to pick up United Airlines pension obligations. And then after that, they went through bankruptcy again, and there was no participation left from United Airlines, and they ceased to pay those United Airline pilots their pensions.
A lot of people have lost pensions in a lot of different jobs.
Right.
But yet we still keep voting for these corporations to be able to rule the roost here.
Right.
So anyway, we want to talk again. We want to remind you. Last week we talked about Bob Good Latte. I want to mention that before we run out of time. It's already 7:22. Bob Good Latte is the one you need to call to make sure this student loan bill HR 449.
That's correct.
Gets to the floor. It's one of those things that are good for the students that have been buried under the pile again. And the only way that we're going to get that out of there and in front of someone that can do something about it, yes.
Yeah.
It'll never get voted on otherwise. I mean, I can't tell you how many good bills have went down because they don't bring them up. Is there anything we can do about that? I mean, other than calling Bob?
Yes.
There's his number on the screen. It's 202, what does that say?
225-5431.
Okay, 225-5431. My eyes hurt.
Yes.
So definitely call him. I mean, that's what we can do right now. But in the future, what can we?
Well,
I mean, how do we? This happens all the time.
Yeah, I think everyone in the listening audience has a member of the House of Representatives who represents them. So in addition to calling Mr. Good Latte and saying, wake up and smell the coffee, which he does need to do, I think that the other action is to call your own congressman and say, look, we want you to become a co-sponsor on House Resolution 449. You put your name on there, and you say that you're proud that we have students going to college, and we're proud that we want a nation that's a well-educated nation, and we don't want to have it so that students are the only class of people in the country who can't discharge their liabilities through bankruptcy.
Right. They have no consumer protections whatsoever.
No.
And that's just not right. I mean, everybody goes through some kind of something within their life. Most people do.
Yes.
And if you don't have any money at the end of the paycheck, you can't save. And that's where the problem starts. So please do call your congressman, call your representatives, ask them to co-sponsor this bill, and tell them to make it move.
That's right. Get it out of subcommittee, get it out of committee, get it on the floor, and get it voted on in a positive way. Because we can't keep penalizing a segment of our society that way and expect our society to grow and be, let's say, a good society as we should be.
Right. And also, we would like you to support us at GoFundMe. We have to file for our 501c3. So we put together a GoFundMe, and you can find that at gofundme.com/student-services.
Right.
They wouldn't let me write society. There wasn't enough letters
Not
left.
enough room.
So yes, please check us out there. It'll also direct you to our Facebook for more details. The website should be up. When did you say the website
It should be up this week.
Okay. And then we do have memberships available that once the website goes up and we get the rest of it completed.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about those?
Well, sure. As treasurer of the organization.
back.
I always have the obligation, just like we're on public radio or television, right, to talk about funding. I think that people, when they go to the GoFundMe page, can find out really saying, well, look, we're creating an organization that's low membership based for the students. A student membership only costs $10 to be in for a period of a year. But then we have charter memberships, that is, people who want to help the students, are general members or citizens in the society, and their fee is $100 a year. And then if you want to be what we call an honor member to really help the society grow, it's $2,500 a year.
Yes. So that's what we're trying to do. We are going to be in here for the long haul.
Yep.
This is a very exciting project that we have going on. We'd like your help. What else should we? We've got a couple minutes left.
Well, I think another thing that we can talk about is that there is some further movement on the legal front. We covered that briefly in the past. And the most recent movement on the legal front was a decision from another court of appeals where the underlying bankruptcy court had said that a woman who had acquired a student debt could not discharge her debt because she had about 17 different loans over the period.
Oh, yeah, they really,
Yeah. And
you don't realize until the end.
Right. And the Court of Appeals said no, she has a right to discharge her student debt. You just have to determine which ones and how they can be discharged. So they sent it back down to the district court to be reheard so that she will be getting some relief. So we're continually moving forward a step at a time on the legal front. That has to continue.
And hopefully we'll have a database up soon that talks about that stuff too. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week. Have a good week. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
A hustle here and a hustle there.
You have been listening
New York
to
City.
We Are the People with social advocate Tracy Marks, who every week bring to the light the needs and changes in our current system. Tune in every Monday night at 7 p.m. on WeAreThePeople.tv and participate in the conversation in the chat room or call 888-565-1470. Tune in next Monday for more information and facts and stay aware of your surroundings and challenges at all times.